Hello, East Texas. Thank you so much for joining us. Dan Mallea here, and I'm joined by a very special guest today. We've got Nick Angstadt from the Locked On Mavs podcast. Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm healthy. I'm not injured like a lot of the Dallas Mavericks. I'm ready to play.
Yeah, man. I mean, and talking about that, I mean, I guess we can just jump right into last night's game because obviously they played the Lakers, similar records coming in, but like you mentioned, no Daniel Gafford, no Kyrie, no Luka. Obviously, Dante Exum's been out, so kind of question marks coming into that game. But a big win for the Mavs. What was kind of your reaction when you were, or I guess what were you thinking as you were watching that all go down last night?
Yeah, without Luka and Kyrie, I was talking to a lot of people at the game last night, and you're thinking the Mavs are without like 80 points between what Luka and Kyrie score and what they assist and create themselves. It is wild for this team. It would be wild for this team to win any games with both of them out right now. The Mavs are just in a really tough spot with Kyrie with the back injury that sounds like it might not be as bad as we thought, and Luka with the calf injury, he'll be out for about a month. But the team last night, they fought and they just put up an incredible effort against that Lakers team. And I think the Lakers, they gave that game away. They missed a bunch of layups. They just didn't look together at all. But the Mavs definitely took it from them. PJ Washington stepped up in a huge way. Quentin Grimes has been a revelation for this Mavericks team. His ability to defend, hit the three, but also be able to create off the dribble a little bit, create some offense is desperately needed without Luka and Kyrie. It was a great effort from the Mavs last night.
Yeah, awesome. And you're talking about the injuries to Kyrie and to Luka. For people who may not be, totally aware, can you just tell us about, I guess, the severity of those injuries and what the reports are in terms of when they might be coming back?
Yeah, so if you had a great and happy Christmas and you didn't watch the Mavs game on Christmas Day, this is what happened. Luka went down with a calf injury on Christmas Day. They said he was going to be reevaluated in a month, so that's around January 25th. And the Mavs, so we'll see if he plays right after that. I expect him to be out a little bit longer than that, but we'll see. So that's where we are with Luka. With Kyrie, he was out with an illness, and then he was out with a back injury, and then ESPN reported that it was a bulging disc. The Mavs have just said that it's a lumbar back sprain, and which is a different injury than bulging discs, so we're still kind of waiting on that. The Mavs last night said that they'll update on Kyrie in a couple of days because they'll know exactly what the injury is. They'll have a better idea of how long he's going to be out, and so we're waiting for Thursday, Friday, maybe this weekend to learn a little bit more about Kyrie's injury and the length of it.
Awesome. So I guess, well, with last night's win, that's the first win for the Mavericks here in 2025. And, talking offline, you and I were kind of talking about maybe New Year's resolutions for the Mavericks here in the new year. What are things that they should be focused on to continue to have success here in 2025? So I'm going to throw it to you. Is it just stay healthy? What should the Mavs resolutions be here in the new year?
Yeah, maybe eat more apples, like keep the doctor away. I don't know. This Dallas Mavericks team, the way that they're constructed right now, the goal is just to stay afloat. It's just to eke out any wins you can and catch some teams off guard like they did the Lakers last night, do some things like that. They've got to be able to find offense with this group because obviously you're missing Luka and Kyrie, two all-stars, all-NBA level players that are offensive engines. This team is built to have at least one of those guys. They can be an effective team. But if they don't have either of them, then where do you turn for offense? So it's on guys like PJ Washington, who has stepped up in a really big way, scoring in ways that we didn't really see him last year. On Quentin Grimes to step up off the bench and to be good. To Vernaji Marshall, who's back from that suspension, to get back into it and start scoring the way that he was when Luka was out earlier this season. With Daniel Gafford out, Derek Lively has to be much better as the starting center, has to be better at not getting fouls and not having to get out of games. So there's a lot of little things here with New Year's resolutions for the Mavericks, but the big one is just to stay afloat and hope that Luka and Kyrie can come back and be healthy, because if they do come back and are healthy, then all of a sudden the Mavs can do what they do. They go on a run in February, March, and April, and then all of a sudden they find themselves in the Western Conference Finals or the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and you were talking about, PJ Washington and Quentin Grimes, and I think Quentin Grimes had 6 threes last night, so he was kind of balling out. How impressed have you been by those guys, stepping up in the absence of Luka and Kyrie?
Quentin Grimes all offseason was my guy on Locked On Mavericks every day. Throughout the summer, I talked about him as a guy that I looked at as he's going to surprise the Mavericks fans because he's a skilled guy. And he was just kind of hanging out in Detroit. He got moved from the Knicks for that Dante DiVincenzo trade a couple years ago because they wanted some more offensive scoring and stuff like that. So they moved on from him, but he was really good for the Knicks. And then he just kind of wasted away with the Pistons. And now coming to the Mavericks, and he's showing some great stuff. He was running a pick and roll as the ball handler. He was doing some dribble handoff stuff. He was driving and kicking and sending getting the ball out to 3-point shooters. I mean, he's just doing stuff that you wouldn't expect from a classic, role player, quote unquote, 3-and-D player that just hits threes and plays defense. So Quentin Grimes has been awesome. Spencer Dinwiddie has also stepped up in really big moments. He was great in the game last night against his former team. Maybe a lot of people will remember that he chose the Lakers last year instead of the Mavericks when he was bought out, and he decided his quote was that sometimes you just need to, you just go with dad instead of going it safe with mama, and that's who the Mavs were, mama. So he came back home to mama now, and he's playing well with the Mavericks. And so the Mavs have had some of these role players really step up. Nico Harrison went 4 for 4 in the offseason.
That's awesome. Man, well, we've kind of hit a lot of stuff pretty quickly here, so I guess I don't have a ton else for you. And, we talked about staying healthy, maybe getting some more apples in the Mavericks diet here in the new year. But I guess if you had to point out one thing, what's one thing that the Mavs have to do in the new year to continue to put themselves in a good position and, to maybe repeat as Western Conference champs, not to, get too far out ahead of ourselves. But what's one thing that the Mavs should focus on and maybe fans should be paying attention to in 2025?
Yeah, I'm watching to see where the rotation comes out to be when they all get healthy. We've really only seen this starting lineup of Luka, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, and Derek Lively. We've only seen them play 6 or 7 games in the starting lineup together. It has not been very many. So I want to see some continuity. I want to see those guys health. It's such a boring thing to say, but that's what they need. They just need health to see those guys play together, because this team can go to the NBA Finals again. This team could win the NBA Finals if they're healthy, if they put it all together, because they were the best. They're the best 5-man lineup in the NBA when that group played together. Klay Thompson bringing the spacing and the shooting that he brings, Derek Lively bringing the defense, PJ Washington just being great all over the floor, and Luka and Kyrie doing their thing. And so if we can see that lineup more at a certain point this season, we'd love to have some more chemistry under their belt before they get in the playoffs. Other than that, it's just get to, stay afloat and get into the playoffs. And hopefully you're running on all cylinders by then and you're peaking by the time the playoffs show up.
Awesome. Well, Nick, like I said, that's all I got. We hit a lot of great stuff here and, not a lot of time. So thank you so much for joining us here today. And folks, you can catch Nick on the Locked On Mavs podcast. They post every day, keeping y'all up to date on everything going on with the Mavericks every single day. So make sure to tune in there and also tune in here to get your latest Mavericks updates. But Nick, I guess we'll chat next time. Maybe when the Mavs are a little healthier, we can talk that.
Yeah, when they're fun again, maybe we can do
exactly.
that.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you.
Yep.